Hello viewers, today for service and repair we have a digital 900 MHz Uniden telephone. This is a model EXI8965 and it's extended range. I don't have my typical background today because I went to use it and it was wet. It's sitting over there and well, I guess you can't see on video, but it is all wet, so I guess we have water coming in over here, which is phenomenal. We'll have to take a look at that in another video, but anyways, so for now we have ticker towels. It doesn't look as good as the other background does, but what are you gonna do? It'll be good enough. So anyways, we're going to test this out here. I do not believe this is working at the moment, and I think it's probably just because the battery's not any good. Ugh. We got to replace the foam in there because that's gone kind of spoiled. I do believe this is the original battery. This is, I believe, the date code here. This would be 2000 and month 10, so the battery is 16 years old. If it's sat idle for some time, more than likely it has failed. So we're going to unplug this and I'll set that aside. I can check that with the meter later, but more than likely it's not good. So I have a replacement battery. This is a Radio Shack battery, and this is probably pretty old too, but it does work still. So I'll put that in there. Well, it definitely works. Slide this back on, and let's give this a test here. Put it on charge. It does seem to be working. The charge light is a little flickery, so I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera or not. So that's a good indication that the charging contacts are probably in desperate need of cleaning. There's bugs over there. Okay. So it looks like the handset's charging. Let's check the buttons here. So we have a little double dialing there. Must just been how I pressed it. Alright, so that's working. Talk. It's working. We will flash. That seems to be working. Volume up and down is working. Memory works. Delete works. Caller ID works. Redial is good, but that's my phone number, so I'll have to blur that out. And let's see here. Channel works. Mute works. Options. Okay. So this looks like it's working. Ring switch on the bottom there. So now we're going to do a page. I'll turn it on. Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2 3. So that's working. Turn this on. How do we lower that volume? My goodness, that's loud. Does this not have a volume control on it? Oh, there it is. That's working. All those buttons seem to work. Mute on, mute off. Okay. So it would appear like everything is working fine. So really what we're going to do with the handset, well, I'm going to strip it open just so we can get that junk out of the side there, because that's kind of nasty. Nobody wants to talk on the phone with that there. But otherwise, there's not much to be done with this thing. So I'm going to remove the belt clip, which is revealing some more nastiness. We'll take care of that. I'm going to disconnect this for now, and I'll set that aside, and we're just going to work on the handset. So open this up, undo the battery, and let's see here. Screws are in there tight, jeez. Okay, and we do have a headset jack, so we're going to open that up. Maybe. There we go. And we'll begin to split this apart here. Looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of prying on this one. So what I like to do is I take a common screwdriver, put it under a towel, and very, very gently do this. You have to make sure that you don't let the screwdriver, kind of push into there when you do this, because you can damage the internal components. See, this is really something you got to be super careful with. Okay, did not sound good, but I don't think it was bad, so everything's okay still. Alright. Now, what we're going to do here is, there's really not much junk in there, but I will remove it just because it'll make the front easier to clean if the buttons aren't there. I'm going to put on my electrostatic discharge thing. I don't really know if these make a difference, but can't hurt, I suppose. Okay. So first we're going to remove the charging contacts. I'll set those over there. And then we're going to remove these two screws here. And we have one screw up here at the top. And now the board should come out. And just kind of push the buttons out, and that will get it to come. That's the longest antenna I've ever seen one of these things. Normally they only go up to about there, but this one seems like it would go all the way to the top. Alright, we are going to remove... is this worth removing? No, it's not. Not for this one anyways. So we're going to set that like this. Actually, you know what? I will remove it. It's probably going to be more of a hassle to work with it on there than it is to just take it out. Alright, so now I can just put this whole board aside and not worry about that anymore. So, remove the buttons. I always underscore this when I work on these phones, and I'll underscore it again. Very well designed button pads. Some of these pads aren't solid like this, and it lets junk get in between through the buttons. This doesn't have that, so underneath it here stays really clean, and you can see on the board itself, actually this one is a little bit dirty. This just has residue from the conductive material, so I may actually clean this one off. But generally speaking, here, ring switch. Generally speaking, it's pretty clean. And this is really not dirty at all, which is kind of remarkable. This is in really good condition. So we'll just clean this with the antibacterial thing. Not going to do anything else to that. The handset has the typical junk around the side we're going to get rid of, and we're just going to go over the whole front with the antibacterial thing, and same with the back. And for phones that really don't have any problems like this one, that is the standard refurbishing procedure as far as cleaning goes. It's really all you need to do. May or may not replace this. It's not really a big deal, it's just kind of yicky. We'll see what happens with that. Alright, here's one of said cleaning wipes. These are supposed to kill the cold and the flu viruses, which is phenomenal because we can't have those things on the telephones. So this has two sides to it. One side is more abrasive and one is kind of just soft. Typically I start with the abrasive side, and to get the stuff out of the handset edges I just kind of go like this, and it usually comes out pretty easily. And this actually does a pretty good job on the screens too. Alright, so we'll let this thing dry here, and then we'll take a look at how that came out and see if there's any other patches of junk that we missed. Alright, so here's the finished product here. It looks pretty good. These actually have a matte finish display, which is kind of odd. But that's what it has, and it overall looks pretty good. There's some wear on the bottom here, and there's somewhere at the top where it sits in the cradle. Kind of have to expect that after so many years, but otherwise it's pretty good. So now we'll move on to the back of it here. Same procedure. Getting in these little crevices here can be kind of a pain sometimes. You may even have to resort to using one of the cotton swab things. Now there's a little bit of a nick in the finish up here, so what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of level that out so it's not quite as obvious. And the way I do that is I take a handle of a screwdriver and we just kind of go over this just to kind of press this back down, just so that, you know, when you grab it, it's not sharp or anything. So it's still there, but it's not, you know, really noticeable as much anyways. Okay, so that fixes that. Most of that junk from the belt clip is gone, which is good. So now we're going to move on to the more interesting part, and we're going to clean the dial pad. And I'm going to do that on the table. And generally what I do here is I take this stuff, and this is what I'll clean it with. And this is good because it evaporates very quickly, so you don't have a lot of liquid residue on the board. You know, because liquid electronics don't really mix that well. And so I just very carefully go over the board like this. You have to watch out for the little lights on here. You can see it's already evaporating very quickly after I go over it here. You can see a fair bit of stuff came off of there. And I'll zoom this in so you can see the little lights I was talking about. That's a little bit too much. It's still too much. Okay, well anyways, that was unsuccessful. Right here, and right here, and right here, and here. Those are all the little lights for the backlit display. So you just got to be careful of those when you're, you know, going like that on the board. And it would take a fair bit to get those to come off, but you know, you don't want to risk breaking anything. Alright, so that's all I'm going to do here. Because that's really all it needed. It didn't even need that as it was. So I'm going to set that back aside. We're going to put this in a moment. While I have the dialer out, we're going to clean this off. And I'm going to use the less abrasive side now, because that's really all that we need for this. There's no dirt on here really. You could rinse these out with water too if they were really bad, but this one's not bad at all. And do not clean this side, because you'll clean off the conductive material and cause it to stop working. So now we're going to put this back together. I don't know all that noises, but anyways, I'm going to slip this in here. Make sure all the little buttons go through. Sometimes they're a little bit finicky. Okay. And now I will mount the receiver capsule again. Okay, now I will feed the antenna in here, like that. And then these two speaker wires kind of go through this little thing there. Those three little bars. So it should end up looking something like this. Slip the board back into place. And I'm actually going to test it before we do anything else. It's working. So now we're going to put in the screws. We'll start with the top one. Actually, first I'm going to put the ring switch back in. It looks like this is one of those things that goes in like this. Maybe it goes in the other way. Okay, that's in place. Okay, now we can do the screws. Okay, we'll put the battery terminals in place. And actually, before I do that, what we're going to do here, because this was having some problems, I'm going to take a little file and I'm just going to scrape this off here to get rid of any dirt or tarnishing that could have showed up on here. I'll just clean it off and make sure we get a good connection. I'll do it on the other one as well. Okay. Now we can install these. And lastly, we'll put the cover back on. I'll zoom out for that. So now all that stuff is going from the sides. It's much cleaner now. And I'll put the last two screws in. Okay, and the battery. And actually I have a new battery for this that I'll put in later when I put this into service. Okay. Good, alright. So now onto the base. This belt clip we'll just kind of clean like this. All that dust out of there. This is also another piece you could probably soak in water if you're so inclined, but this seems to take less time, so I'm doing it this way. Okay. And we'll put this back on the handset. And now onto the base. I am going to take note of the charging contacts needing to be cleaned. So I'll get my file back. Do that. I'll do this. Okay. Now, this is a case where I'm actually going to take apart the base too, because, well, actually, not necessarily. We're going to clean this. See, what happens here is dust gets underneath those buttons, and because there's like an indent around the buttons, it's kind of hard to clean. So I'm going to try something and see if it works. I'm going to take a damp toothbrush here and make sure it's not too wet, because if there's enough water to drip down to there, that's not good. And I'm going to try to do this and see if this will take it out. And it looks like it'll do pretty well. So this is why I always try things, because this will take very little time. Unblur, relative to the other procedure, this will take a lot less time and it'll produce the same result. Now, I'd like for you to see it. Good. Now, the speakers, you'll see like you'll get dust inside the speaker there too. This will sometimes take some of that out, but really that's very hard to get out of there. This is usually the best way to do it, and it produces reasonable results, but it's not something I worry about too much, because over time it's going to go back there anyways. As you can see, this does make some difference, but not a whole ton. That's really all I'm going to do for that. So now back to this. Now, the handset tray can be kind of annoying to clean off because it has a lot of corners and edges to it. So we'll see how we do with this. We may have to get out the toothbrush again to finish the rest. this is faring pretty well, so we may just call it a day with this only. Okay. So that's that. Now, what I like to do here, just a little bit of junk down there actually. Yeah, you gotta look at this under a bright light, because sometimes you'll see, especially on these black phones, the dirt kind of hides in inconspicuous places. So the last thing I like to do here, once I've done that, is I take a fresh cloth with just water on it, and I clean this again with just water. I like to get all those chemicals off there so they're not just sitting on the, on the handset or on the base. So I'm going to do that now. And also that leaves kind of a sticky residue, and that's no good. So we'll get rid of that too. And then I take a dry cloth to remove the excess water. Okay, now I'll do that on the handset as well. And what I'm also going to do here is we're going to replace the battery as well, because I have a good working one which I want to put in here, a new one. So we're actually going to take this out now. And we'll see how it fits in. If it's fitting in really loose because of the foam, we'll replace the foam. But I don't really want to do that, so hopefully that's not the problem. So I'm going to go grab a new battery, and I'll pick up the video again. Okay, so here's the new battery. This is a BT800. Not the same model number, but same specifications, nickel cadmium, 3.6 volts. I think it's like 200 milliamps higher, so you get a little more talk time out of it. I'm going to plug this in here, and I'll have to charge this up. See how this fits on here. So we're going to have to replace the foam after all, which kind of stinks because it's a hassle, but we're going to do it. So let's get all the junky foam off of the battery, and I'm going to remove the foam off of here. Unfortunately, it comes off easier on other items you don't want it to come off on. So, okay. That's most of it's gone. That's just sticky there, which actually works out okay because now we'll have something for the new foam to stick to. So, I'm going to go cut a piece of foam, and you don't have to use, something fancy. I typically just go over there and cut a piece of foam, off of my door. So I'll do that, and we'll have this to work off of. Okay, new piece of foam. We're just going to stick this on here, and it should stick. So that's good enough. Put the new battery in here, or new, old, used, whatever battery, the battery in. And if this battery doesn't work, I'll test it. Of course, if it doesn't work, right, I'll get a new one. But I had one on hand, so I might as well just use it. Okay, no more shaking in there. I gotta charge it up. So let's plug this in and see if this is going to take a charge. I do suspect it will take a charge, but I just want to make sure. Yep, it's taking a charge. You can see the screen came on, and yeah, low battery. It's working. Alright, so there you have it. This has been refurbished, I guess you could say. Mostly just cleaned, really. And there you have it. It looks pretty nice. So there you go. That was the Uniden EXI8965 digital 900 megahertz extended range refurbishing. Thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, and out.